Future Esoteric, Introduction. Quote, "The day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, humankind will have discovered fire." End quote. Teilhard de Chardin. If you tell someone you study the esoteric these days, they may emblazon you with the charge of being a Satan worshiper or being associated with a death cult. Study of the esoteric has assumed a negative connotation in the modern age, likely trumped by the ascendancy of science and its methodological way of understanding our world. Even to be spiritual has received an unfair assessment by some, because ignorance has a way of making even the beautiful seem ugly. The word esoteric is derived from the Greek esoterikos, quote, belonging to an inner circle, from esotero, comparative of eso, within. As a philosophical doctrine, it is intended to be revealed only to the initiates of a group, such as the esoteric doctrines of the Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras. Interestingly, the Buddha lived in the same time frame as Pythagoras, but there was no contact between the two men. Pythagoras is considered the first official Grand Master of the Illuminati, members of the secret power elite, who have borrowed this name and have twisted his doctrines for purposes of domination and control. According to the Greek rhetorician Lucian, the division of teachings between exoteric, that is general knowledge, and esoteric, the secret and mystical, originated with Aristotle. Esoteric study was the impetus behind the origin of the mystery schools in ancient Greece. The literal definition of esoteric is a kind of information understood by or followed by a select few who have access to special knowledge. For those involved, esoteric study is viewed as being conducted in private. It can be secret, discreet, and confidential endeavor. Esoteric research, as contemplated by a select few, can come across as obtrusive, arcane, or cryptic. It can also mean the study of forbidden subjects, or those derided by science. That is, those weird topics that have no other forum of examination except from within already biased groups of those who study the esoteric. Dabbling in the esoteric. In any esoteric tradition, the most important factor is that the initiates must truly desire the knowledge they seek. They truly have to want it above anything else. There must be an overwhelming desire for introspection and knowledge. To connect all the pieces of the puzzle, to lift our consciousness and civilization to the next level, we must all be students of the esoteric. And in this realm, the truth is out there. It is accessible. To understand esoteric study is to know that it does not progress the way science does. The esoteric is a different school of study, one based on experiences, anecdotes, and even dogmas, whereas science uses testable and objective experimental methodology. Science works very well because other scientists can confirm or refute the findings of the original author, one of the basic principles of the scientific method. If an esoteric science is to be truly universal, it too must be based on fundamental elements of knowledge that can be repeatable, confirmed, or refuted, and can serve as the foundation for further studies. Science is unique because it consists of a record of accumulated knowledge built up over several centuries with only secondary reliance on intuition. Science is the voluntary acknowledgement by conceptual thinkers that evidence-based decision-making is the foundation on which we all stand. In contrast, within the study of religion and esotericism, the essential doctrines are more frequently anchored by the visions and opinions of a single founder and the experiential commentaries of their followers. Scientific discoveries will be referenced extensively in this text, but some of the science to be discussed has yet to be released to the general public. Because of this delay, the validity of esoteric scientific claims in this book will have to await scientific studies performed post-publication. The best examples are the global phenomenon of UFO sightings and free energy technology. If we accept the premise of withheld information, we have a big problem knowing both what is real and what is true. If we can't trust evidence that is replicated reports of seemingly credible individuals, or if we believe those who label strange or unusual claims as a conspiracy, or if we believe everything the media reports, then we are in a sort of gray zone with no guideposts. We would also have to accept all sorts of other claims without evidence, such as that President Obama was born in Kenya. No evidence? The government must be covering it all up. Defining unusual or esoteric information as a conspiracy is a complete game changer. Once you give in to this easy dismissal, it is a decision to keep a closed mind. Then, what is the limit? Sooner or later, we must decide for ourselves what seems to be correct. There are those who immediately reject all weird or unusual claims. Others are intrigued and open to further exploration. Of course, there are hoaxes out there, but there are also those who seem to have an evil agenda and know how to cover their tracks. On the other hand, we tend to accept only the official explanation. Yet, on the other hand, we see there is something larger at play, something intent on holding us back from looking beyond, from considering alternatives. The collective esoteric subjects, combined with withheld information by those who seek world control, can be described as the alternative narrative. For some people, the contents of this book will seem unbelievable. Unfortunately, the beliefs we have always been taught are not a reliable criteria for reality. The very nature of the subjects discussed in this book make them unbelievable and therefore easily discreditable. It is recommended the reader be intelligently skeptical, but not discard arcane bits of information or perspectives just because the topic is not familiar. At the very least, if the reader is sufficiently intrigued to read through this entire book, he or she can hardly claim the old saw that there is no evidence. Conversely, the release of this information is potentially catastrophic for certain political, religious, and economic vested interests. But if these weren't quote, dangerous subjects, they wouldn't be considered esoteric. The big lie. If the contents of this book are true, it also presents a new dilemma, and that is, what then is our reality? For the purpose of this argument, we will call everything that we have been told the big lie. The big lie is an attack upon reality. It undermines and dissolves reality. It eventually undermines all of our social structures based on that false reality until that reality just collapses. The big lie is very potent, and lately it is more and more difficult to counter. The power we need to counter the big lie is to have a true understanding of ourselves. The individual nature of our existence is the spiritual dignity of the human being. To deny the spirit of the individual and instead focus solely on materialism is to become trapped in the big lie. If we want to understand the nature of truth, we need to have incorruptible wisdom. We need to develop a new kind of human wisdom with all its varied aspects. To counter the big lie, we need to have a true picture of the threefold human being. That is the universal understanding of mind, body, and spirit. We also need to know who is spreading the big lie. Two questions emerge. One, is it possible that ancient and secret societies exist which have always had control over the real and important information and have been manipulating us throughout history? Two, if so, are they succeeding? Researchers point to the Illuminati and the power elite, the secret society of the huge money interests who control the information dished out to the masses by planting false knowledge and beliefs into the mass media. This relatively small number of individuals appear to be the ones behind the big lie. Essentially, everything we would like to know and need to know has been covered up. Information about the electrogenetic magnificence of our DNA being a spiritual antenna, about everything in our universe being a divine interactive creation, about our ascendancy into a new understanding, and the fact that we are living the future esoteric right now. It is now harder than ever to understand and differentiate the, quote, shit from Shinola. We've been duped into a system that is designed to consolidate wealth and power rather than provide a real opportunity for all people to thrive. By exposing this agenda, strategically challenging deceptive systems such as central banks and fiat currency, and coming up with new ways to organize and cooperate, we can render obsolete this destructive agenda and liberate our planet, plus unleash our true human potential. Everything of importance has been covered up under the model of the big lie. For example, we are not learning the truth about pharmaceutical products, both the toxicity of vaccinations and the long-term harmful effects of various medications. The pharmaceutical industrialists, better named the military, medical, petrochemical, pharmaceutical cartel, have almost total control over the mass media and thus control over the mass mind. As a result of the power they wield, people are not given factual information to make informed decisions. They are given propaganda. Consequently, the health choices people make are mired in ignorance, make them weaker, and toxify them to the point that they tend to die earlier. This is a fundamental reason for countering the big lie. You can live longer and be much healthier. Think of it as a matter of self-defense. There is now what is identified as a global domination agenda, which is a plan by a powerful private banker elite to take over our primary systems. These are the biggest systems in the world, including money, energy, food, medicine, education, media, and influence our government officials who regulate these industries. The elite seek to establish a sole authority over all these global issues, with themselves in charge. They use the media, central banks, multinational corporations, governments, major foundations, and international agencies such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to implement their strategies. So far, they have successfully brought down the financial infrastructure of countries across the globe, including Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Tanzania, Indonesia, Brazil, Poland, Mexico, Bolivia, Thailand, Iceland, the Soviet Union, Japan, Greece, and scores of others. They are now attempting to dismantle the U.S. infrastructure by collapsing the dollar to make sure Americans are in more debt than they can ever possibly repay. The seeing eye pyramid is indicative of their basic structure of control. The financial elite are at the top. They use international and national central banks to control corporations, which they loan to at special rates, manipulate national economies, and hence their governments, and get everyone into debt to the bankers. U.S. government politicians, indeed all of the leaders of the so-called free world, are totally controlled by a secret and wealthy oligarchy. Most of the elite controllers are not even in government, but dictate what the government will do. These are the people who are also behind UFO secrecy. The largest aerospace corporations have now taken over advanced UFO technology for their own purposes and are perpetuating the cover-up. The globalists do not care if you believe in UFOs, but if you do know there are ETs contacting Earth, then you will know there are alternative free energy solutions available and other technology beyond our wildest dreams. But this knowledge, if prematurely accessed, would upset their monopolies based on oil, coal, nuclear energy, transportation, communications, gas fuel, and pharmaceuticals. After all, who would continue to pay all these ever-increasing prices for gasoline, the unnecessary burning of fossil fuel that is polluting the air, poisoning our children, choking us all, if we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are non-polluting energy sources out there? This is what the big lie is all about. It comes back to the old journalistic adage, which is, if you cannot make sense of a story, then simply follow the money. It is hard to absorb the enormity of the big lie until you know it personally. It is the greatest story never told. The extent to which humanity is being massively manipulated can be overwhelming. How can anyone conclude the objective truth about anything in life anymore? We know corporations lie to us. We know governments lie to us. We know the media lies to us. Who can we trust? Yet we can liberate ourselves once we start breaking through the fog, once we begin to penetrate the maze and start to get it. but this requires undertaking a real re-education. The other option is to passively allow the programming of our minds to accept a predetermined version of reality that the elite would like us to have. Disclosure will remain an individual quest for some time, so forget about official disclosure happening on your TV anytime soon. Until then, study the evidence for yourself. Nobody official is going to tell you the full story, at least not without lying about it or creating a cover story. Choose your sources well and apply a good dose of uncommon sense. Use intuition and pattern recognition. Furthermore, disclosure is really just the beginning, and when it does come, do not expect it all in one big revelation. Before that happens, there will be a few primetime TV series to get you used to the alternative idea. Predictive programming is what it's called. UFOs and aliens, real or hoaxed? Most people consider UFOs a socially sensitive subject. After all, how do we really know if UFOs are real or not? Many consider true objectivity almost impossible. Thus, the information in this book needs to be treated purely as data for your own personal consideration. Consider these views as scenarios. It is imperative readers arrive at their own conclusions, do their own independent research, and become as informed as possible. This then becomes the individual's truth, his or her power, knowledge, and guiding principle in life. A 2002 Roper poll of American beliefs and personal experiences on intelligent life on other planets, using rigorous scientific polling methods, found that 48% of U.S. adults believe that intelligent life from other planets or dimensions is now visiting Earth, and 67% of U.S. adults believe in the existence of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. The Roper poll also found that 72% of American adults believe the U.S. government is not telling all it knows about spacecraft or unidentified flying objects visiting the Earth. Fully 14% of Americans say they have had a close encounter with a spacecraft or unidentified flying object. 2% of Americans told Roper that they have had an encounter with intelligent beings from other planets or dimensions. Roper also found that among those adult Americans who believe in abductions by non-terrestrial beings, 33% claim they either experienced or know someone who experienced a close encounter with intelligent beings from other planets or dimensions. Yet we are still at a point in history where it is possible, even easy, to believe strongly and completely that we are alone in the universe, that the human form has only uniquely evolved here on Earth, and that we are already at the highest level of potential human evolution and technological advancement. That's it. End of story. Nothing esoteric found here. You take the blue pill, said Morpheus in the film The Matrix, and the story ends. You wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, continued Morpheus, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. If every single UFO or ET video is a hoax, then it is an extraordinarily sophisticated campaign to trick the people of the world. Suffice it to say, this would require big budget, Hollywood-level SFX expertise and significant equipment to fake something such as the thousands of videos on YouTube alone. Besides, reports of true personal experiences have a kind of intuitive energy which is hard to fake. Hoaxes, on the other hand, have a different, off-putting energy. But when this argument fails, debunkers resort to the label crazies, an old and tired strategy. Unfortunately, it is all too easy to marginalize those who have a belief in the paranormal. If UFOs are real, then this discovery will clearly be the most significant event in the history of civilization. So big, it will come to define modern human history with unimaginable repercussions for society. If they are real, UFOs offer the possibility of technology beyond our wildest dreams. For this reason alone, they have been classified as above top secret for decades. The elite powers view such technological potential as the ultimate threat to their entrenched control of society's infrastructure. Yet scientists, researchers, military personnel, and astronauts have been talking about UFOs for decades. It appears that the truth will come out. In recent times, some major governments have begun to make their files on UFOs public. Again, if this is a grand hoax of unpaid computer graphic experts, why would world governments from Belgium to New Zealand, from the UK to Ecuador, France and Brazil all declassify and present to the public UFO documents? In a new effort to come clean in the United States, the Federal Bureau of Investigations launched a new section on their website in the spring of 2011 called The Vault. Here can be seen dozens of documents pertaining to UFOs, the Roswell incident, animal mutilations, ESP, and other paranormal topics. The FBI and governments of the world who declassify UFO files are not known to be prankster organizations. Also, in April 2011, the National Security Agency, which was originally formed to handle the UFO phenomenon, declassified select documents under the Freedom of Information Act. When Professor Peter Sturrock, a prominent Stanford University plasma physicist, conducted a survey of the membership of the American Astronomical Society in the 1970s, he made an interesting discovery. He found that astronomers who spent time reading up on the UFO phenomenon developed more interest in the subject. If there was nothing to it, you would expect the opposite reaction. A lack of credible evidence would cause a scientist's interest to wane. But the fact of the matter is, there does exist a vast amount of high quality, albeit enigmatic, data out there. Hundreds of military and government agency witnesses have come forward with testimony confirming this extraterrestrial presence. According to a recent petition to the White House, quote, opinion polls now indicate more than 50% of the American people believe there is an extraterrestrial presence, and more than 80% believe the government is not telling the truth about this phenomenon. The people have a right to know. The people can handle the truth. End quote. The astronomer Father Gabriel Funes, writing in the Vatican newspaper, said he believed that intelligent beings created by God could exist in outer space. Quote, a belief in extraterrestrials does not go against the Catholic faith, end quote, stated this Vatican astronomer in 2008. At the same time, many countries of the world were making efforts at disclosure. But the USA, which arguably has the most secrets of all, has remained ever secretive about an official disclosure. Exopolitics. The study of the UFO subject, including the idea that extraterrestrials exist and have visited the Earth, is called exopolitics. Exopolitics is defined as the science of relations between our Earth people and advanced intelligent civilizations in the universe. It is concerned with the study of the politics involving ET contact and their possible interactions with humans. Exopolitics is based upon the understanding that Earth is being visited by many advanced extraterrestrial races with diverse ethics, motives, appearances, and agendas. The dynamics of this interaction between ET races and their interactions with Earth humanity is the ultimate future esoteric field of study. Exopolitic researchers are quick to point out that it is not enough to simply study the UFO phenomenon. There are human motives for keeping their presence secret, just as there are motives we can learn from the ETs. Apparently, there are quite a few groups of space entities operating in the vicinity of this planet, and while they have knowledge of each other, they do not engage in extensive interchange of ideas. Some of them are working for the benefit of the human race, others to fulfill a plan, while still others are merely tourists. According to exopolitics research, something drastic is set to happen around the world shortly, and it can be assumed that entities will flock here to observe how the Earth drama plays out and how humanity will respond. Advocates for exopolitics have proposed establishing relations with extraterrestrials to take advantage of their presumed knowledge of sustainable energy sources and other matters of global importance. Exopolitics offers a bridge out of the permanent USA welfare state, out of the permanent warfare industry, and into transforming the warfare economy into a cooperative, peaceful, space-age society. The exopolitics model retains the view that we live in a highly populated universe filled with intelligent, evolving civilizations operating under universal law, with governance systems mediated by universal politics. We on Earth are just becoming aware that we live in a populated universe. The structural blinders and belief patterns that have been placed upon us now face a complete restructuring. If the exopolitics model can become the dominant paradigm, we can create a massive change which will turn around the destructive fate of the world. The environmental problems we are now facing are part of the, quote, truth embargo forced upon us by allowing the military, intelligence agencies, and the industrialists to keep everything UFO related under top secret status. Removing it from national security status to the scientific laboratories and the classrooms is the goal of exopolitics. UFOs and extraterrestrials are not top secret threats to be hidden away, but provide social, educational, and very likely spiritual solutions for our society. Our intelligence agencies and the military are the real culprits of information starvation, and they in turn are owned and controlled by corporate military-industrial complex globalists. Exopolitics and most esoteric topics are very broad and complex subjects. Neither is something that one can expect to learn quickly on a whim. These subjects are best left alone by those who demand definitive proof rather than the pursuit of a general inquiry. The best way to get a handle on the truth is to work with a number of separate data streams and then compare the different outputs for similarities and patterns. There is also disinformation out there with the sole purpose of throwing off truth seekers. Propaganda is easily allocated to the masses on a silver platter, but the truth is like a gold mine. You have to dig through a lot of ore to find the good stuff. The laws of consistency. In the abstract, Future Esoteric constructs a new unified theory of all the maybe subjects by combining the three sections in this book: secrets, cosmos, and utopia. We will extrapolate on the esoteric study of UFOs by constructing a unifying theory of all phenomenon which we can apply to real advancements within our civilization. One utopian cosmic vision suggests that if we can possibly learn from other highly evolved ET societies, then we can also create a new society of our own. Perhaps such a society would support a highly technological holographic science where time travel and interstellar travel is possible. Contact with other interstellar beings would motivate the human race to come together in a lasting world peace. This would be the moment when real and meaningful contact with benevolent ETs could occur. This utopian unified theory model would practice the laws of consistency, which allow for children to receive all new information when it becomes known. Nothing is ever withheld, and every tool that is available to one is available to all. There is no such thing as secrets, greed, or hoarding. Knowledge is freely distributed and encouraged to be expanded upon by the next generation. Thus, every new generation becomes smarter than its parents. They inherit the society. They are the ones that continue to go out and expand knowledge, science, and contribute new advancements for society. Every truth is spoken. Everyone is forgiven. There is no monetary system. It is a utopian system where no one is left behind. Work is defined as mentoring, creating, and cooperating with others, and then all human needs are taken care of in an open and fair society. There is free health care, but it has nothing to do with pharmaceuticals. It has to do with advanced healing information about color, light, and sound, and our multi-dimensional physicality. This entails the advancement of the soul and repairing of our DNA structure, which can all be healed. We cannot begin to implement these practices with the current power structure and control. The first thing to realize is we are not just a physicality. Each of us has a soul, and it is quantifiable. It is so quantifiable, it has a weight. Scientists around the world have weighed humans at the moment of death and discovered the human spirit weighs exactly 22 grams. Before death, we create our own adventure in life. People can identify with truth, so lies will eventually come to the surface and fall away. We know what is real, but we have to detach ourselves from the addiction to physicality. When detached from the body, we can become completely objective. We can come to know the essence of ourselves. Once we have achieved self-empowerment, we will know exactly what to do. We are eternal spiritual beings. There is no age to us. We need to move all our collective power into the essence of awareness of our spiritual being through voluntary introspection. Quote, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there, end quote, spoke the mystic Rumi. For in the end, only our actions in life arising from love will matter. If you want to know where to start, develop an inner serenity from which peace activism, the highest calling, can arise. We hope someday you will join us. Will this be our future? When the Nazis came for the communists, I remained silent. I was not a communist. When they locked up the Social Democrats, I remained silent. I was not a Social Democrat. When they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak out. I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemöller, German anti-Nazi theologian and Lutheran pastor. Or will our future be this? Love is the new religion of the 21st century. You don't have to be a highly educated person or have any exceptional knowledge to understand it. It comes from the intelligence of the heart, embedded in the timeless evolutionary pulse of all human beings. Be the change you want to see in the world. Nobody else can do it for you. We are now recruiting. Perhaps you will join us, or already have. All are welcome. The door is open. Brian Pigarosi, from his book, The Big Glow.